my name is Camila Loureiro, and today I'm going to analyze the work When the Punishment Feels Like a Crime by Julia Yoffe. It explores the case People versus Brooke Allen Turner, Stanford athlete who was convicted of sexual assault and rape of an unconscious and intoxicated woman. The main discussion of the article are the boundaries between punishing effectively and punishing excessively, which are thin and sometimes unclear. The article highlights how this should be carefully observed, provoking reflection on readers without leading people towards one answer, nor giving away the author's perspective. The controversy arises from the sentence given by the judge to Turner, considered extremely light and lenient for his severe crime. This led Michelle Daubert to stand up for what she thought was right, fair punishment, and the recalling of the judge, in a movement that took large proportions nationwide and faced solid opposition. Moving on, the author addressed the people involved, stakeholders, and their standpoints. She did not ignore controversies on the characters and rather neutrally presented both sides. Michelle Daubert is presented through her personal story and character as an advocate of students' safety on campus, and this also shows how she might be biased to personal involvement. It also highlights a dichotomy behind her, hero to students and a bully to her colleagues. The defendant, Turner, was convicted of 3 felonies, received 3 months of jail time and 3 years of probation. Yet he was only passively mentioned on the article, only through the eyes of the victim. Here on the side, we can see some extracts from the letter from the victim to the defendant, selected by the author and displayed in the middle of the article. Personally, those made me connect in a much deeper level with the victim in the case, and this made me go after the whole letter that can be found in this link here. As a woman and also in college, I think reading these words caused me to be biased towards thinking that there should be a harsh punishment, as the crime felt way too real, way too deep. The loss of identity that we can see here, waking up clueless, and her collapsing state during the trial all came together to consolidate a profound violence of what happened. It is also curious how, with a little bit of research, I found in USA Today and New York Times that the defendant actually appealed in court, considering his ruling to be wrong and too harsh, which is the opposite of what Daubert was claiming. This aspect was never mentioned in the original article. So here's a good example of how both sides are presented and balanced. The maximum penalty was 14 years, but the final sentencing was 3 months. Why such a small sentence? This actually helps prove Daubert's point that the sentencing wasn't taken as seriously as it should have. But right after, the counterpoint comes to show that the decision was actually a recommendation, and the lenience is within the guidelines from California's laws. In reporting the recall, the author is also very efficient in portraying both sides. Here we can see that in Daubert's statement, she assures that Persky misunderstands his role, and following in the DA's argument right after, he says that the sentence is lawful, and that other judges in his situation would have done the same. The outcome of the campaign showed that this second perspective has prevailed, as the second sentence held and the judge was not recalled. I would here personally add that the notion of proportionality should be taken into account, because when deciding about the severity of punishment, we should always balance punishment in order to still enable criminals to reintegrate society afterwards.